Now, this is because, according to the research of Dennis Pulliston from the University of Pennsylvania, civilizations like the Maya, who built their great pyramids in the rainforest, were primarily subsisting on tree cereals like the Maya bread nut, Brossum malacastrum, and depending on that for their daily bread, and on agroforestry for feeding their populations and their livestock, one of our chief drawdown solutions. The contention Pulliston's research inspired was that civilization actually didn't depend on grain agriculture, and that it was in fact when the Maya began to rely more and more on corn instead of ramon, the Maya bread nut, that their ecology changed, and their politics became increasingly draconian and brutal, filled with human sacrifice, and their great civilization started to collapse to the point where the arrival of the plagues of the conquistadors sealed its doom. Now, scientists have to piece this together from the archaeological and ecological evidence, and often have to step outside their cultural comfort zones to see it, because the Spaniards burned and destroyed all the meticulously collected records of Maya history recorded in the codices that they found, claiming that any knowledge found in the Maya database, if it wasn't in the Bible, then it would be from the devil and not worth knowing, and if it was in the Bible, it was already known and thus not worth preserving. But one thing seems clear. The great forest civilizations flourished for hundreds and hundreds of years, and though corn had been domesticated 10,000 years prior and well used 5,000 years ago throughout the Americas, it wasn't until the 15th century that its ceremonial and secondary uses were replaced by reliance on it as a staple, and ecology, being fragile as it is, within a couple hundred years, it caused the collapse of yet another civilization. In the East, of course, the story was only too well known, if rarely understood. As I've mentioned, reliance on the weed that we call wheat turned the Middle East into a desert. The accompanying deforestation, recorded in the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Old Testament, led to epic and destructive flooding that caused its own extinction crises so severe that mythology had to invent a story about a conservationist who has to build an ark to preserve the DNA of everything he can get through the storm. And what about the Far East? Well, there was something clearly different about the East. For one thing, while they became absolutely addicted to rice, they handled that addiction in clever ways, few of which seem to have involved conquering others or causing deserts. Rather than letting rice cultivation turn the land into desert, they expanded it through a clever combination of wetland creation, incorporating ducks and geese and fish into the wet rice growing mix to maintain the fertility of the land, and in dry rice hillside production, cooperating to create an incredible system of fertility-retaining terraces, which resist flood and erosion, and which persist into